wanna be free with my people to prosper and hold it down. Don't you sit and wait, contemplating on a revolution. The time is now. I just wanna be free. 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 Can't you see? I just wanna be free.
Okay. Another episode of the Things I Wish I Knew About Money podcast. I'm your host, Camille Smith, and I have amazing guests with me today. Onicka, welcome. I'll say the backstory for us. I believe we met at during tax season. During tax season, we met up. We were supporting a mutual friend, Shoshana. Big up yourself, because she's a poet. And we were just talking about, like, there should be like financial literacy at the same spot. I was like, yeah, because I do this, that, and we were just talking about some things. And you told me something that was really shocking, because you told me that you were in the financial industry as well, and I was like, oh, really? Like what? So welcome. I'm gonna keep it on the low right now, because I know you have many gems and all that good stuff. So welcome. Tell the
Thank,
folks who you are.
thank you so much for having me. So I worked in the credit industry. I have just about over 12 years of experience. I worked in the credit counseling field for about, I would say, a little over 7 years. And then in the other side, I work collections too. I work collections for probably about 12 or so years. So I've got the experience, good and bad, both sides.
Wait. So basically, folks love you, but also hate you as well.
Very much, bill collectors. I know a lot of people are watching this and they're going to cringe, collection agents. People don't like us, right? Us, past tense, I don't do that anymore. But yes, people did not like collection agents at all.
But I don't see why, because you had you had something to do. You had to get like the. It's funny you say that. It's like the folks knew that they were using this credit, and then decided not to pay it back. And then you were just
Mhm.
doing your thing, making sure you're getting it back. By
Oh,
all means
everyone was
necessary.
upset. They hated that. I was just trying to do my job. Like, I'm the middle person. I mean, you would have some collectors that would be very aggressive and disrespectful. And, I'd call in calm. Like, I didn't want to disrespect anybody. Like, you owe the debt. Like, let's work out a payment plan. Let's set something up. But nah, people weren't having it. I mean, I could tell you some stories about collections.
But you know what? And we should have. But I really wanted to get about the credit, because I feel like a lot of folks, they they want to use credit, or their idea of credit is like, oh, it's my money. I'm gonna use it. Boom, bum, bum, and all that good stuff. And when we were talking, I was like, wait, that's not how it goes, and all that stuff. So, like, how is your experience, like, being a supervisor in that industry?
It was very insightful, especially
Mhm.
coming over from like the collection standpoint, where it was just like collections, it's demand debts. Like, when are you going to pay? I mean, as I said, I was just trying to get a payment plan set up, but most people don't want to do that, right? So in credit counseling, where I was doing the exact opposite, it was
Mhm.
insightful, it was refreshing, because honestly, prior to me entering in the credit counseling world in collections, they don't display credit counseling like something positive. It's all negative. They look at it in the collection world. That's how they describe it to you in the collection world. But, I mean, credit counseling was a really good thing. Like a lot of other things, it's good and it has its bad side, right? So it was just really insightful, and it was like refreshing to not have people upset, and I would be helping people to achieve their goals and get out of that debt and be financially free, being able to sleep at night, because debt can be very stressful when you have it, and you have every intention of paying back, but you just don't have the means, right?
Mhm. True.
Especially in this current day and time. I mean, just look what happened a couple of days ago. That interest rate went up again. So a lot of people, don't realize. A lot of people are like, oh, the Bank of Canada raised their interest rate. This means my mortgage might go up, but no, that line of credit may go up. It could in turn, in the long run, where they raise the interest rates on your credit card. A lot of people don't have that financial literacy to read the fine print. So, a lot of people are like, oh, that don't affect me. I don't have a house. It's not going to, of course it's going to affect you. Because if Bank of Canada, that runs the rate for everything. So if the Bank of Canada has an increase, in turn, everything else is going to increase. That's in the lending world, right? And a lot of people fail to realize that.
Ooh, so with that, okay, so because I'm glad you mentioned it, because let me see. When I seen it raise up one more time, I was like, I thought you guys were done with this. Didn't we say we weren't gonna do this anymore? So with
and did you hear? They're
which
probably gonna. Sorry, not to interrupt you, but did you hear? They're probably doing it one more time before the year is done. Keep that in mind. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
my face.
Yeah.
I'm not
I know.
happy about it.
That was as I was sitting at work and I pulled up the CP24. I was just like, oh my God, like I'm up for renewal in April. So I'm like terrified. I mean, April is 8 months away, but it's gonna creep
Yeah,
up. And if they're raising it one more time, like what is it going to be, right? And
exactly.
like what's going to happen to the market, because there's a lot of people who recently bought. And think about it, if the Bank of Canada raised the rate to 5%, right, and you
Yeah.
own like a house, and you just bought that house within the past, let's say the past 2 to 3 years, most people are having minimum $800,000 mortgage. If the bank is charging Bank of Canada is 5%, your mortgage company is probably going to charge you 7-8%. So on like 800,000, that's like what, quick math, I think like 56,000 just in interest. Most people can't afford that. You know what I mean? It's crazy.
And I don't want anyone that just got a house, because I know a couple of people in the recent
Don't stress.
2 years.
Don't stress.
Don't stress. It's okay. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we, strategize and all that good stuff. But okay, so you say mortgages are affected, obviously, credit cards. What else can you think of that are affected when it comes to the inflation? When inflation rises, what would you say is affected? Just so folks are able to understand that you will be affected as well.
Basically, everything you purchase in turn, like anything that you buy, your food, maintenance on your home, your car, like gas, everything is going to go up. And it's not necessarily your paycheck that's going to go up, but everything else is going up. I mean, look at the price of groceries right now. You know what I mean? I needed some tomatoes and I paid like $6 for 5 tomatoes, which is crazy. Like we're in summer and if they're in season, and when things are in season, they should be reasonably priced. So like, as I said before, a lot of people are like, oh, 5%, it's not affecting me. I don't own a house, whatever, but it's affecting your credit cards. It's affecting the food you buy, the clothes you wear, because every business, all these big corporations, you go in and purchase things from, it all comes back to the bank. There's all some sort of lending, financing that has to be paid to. And in turn, it's coming to you as the customer. So no matter how big or small your purchase, that 5% is going to affect you in some way.
Yeah, golly. So we really want folks to be mindful about that. And I'm glad that you were able to get the insight of, being a credit counselor and all that stuff as a supervisor. And golly, I just got so mad just thinking about that damn.
Sorry, I apologize.
No worries, no worries. It's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. But what were some strategies that you gave folks that were trying to get out of debt?
Like the first and foremost thing that I would say, which was really important when they would come with us, I would just make sure they explore all avenues.
Yes.
First and foremost, have you gone to your financial institution and seen if there's something they can do internally? Because sometimes your financial institutions, because they understand, they know things are hard. A recession is something that could definitely happen again. So a lot of people say, oh, no, go to your bank, and talk to them. Go to the financial institution and say, hey, I'm having a difficult time. Is there any way we could lower the interest, or something like that? Sometimes your bank will lower the interest. Sometimes they will put you on, sometimes that financial institution will put you on a plan for a couple of months to help you catch back up. And a lot of people look at it like it's going to be completely negative, like they're going to shut down their cards. And it's not necessarily. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some financial institutions, you call them and you say, hey, I'm having a hard time. That's a red flag for some of them, where they're like, hey, well, he or she's calling us, we're going to immediately stop the card. Because if you read your contract, the fine print, a contract can be stopped at any time. They can close that card at any time if you're not compliant with what they want you to be, right? They can close a card for any reason. So first and foremost, I always say, go to your financial institution and talk to them. Now, usually a bank will work with you. If a bank is not willing to work with you, the likelihood is you're severely past due, and they look at that as bad business. They don't want to entertain you. So a lot of banks will say no and just close your cards. Like some banks will close that card and throw it to collections. And a lot of people think, oh, it goes to collections. Okay, I owe 10 grand, whatever, it's in collections. I'll pay when I pay it. But you need to pay attention to that, because that 10 grand that goes to collections that you don't want to pay, it could end up being like 25,000, because the interest does not stop. Like a lot of people don't read the fine print. Like I personally, like I went to school for legal services. And so I always read contracts. Like I know sales people hate me, but you need to read the fine print. Yeah. Oh, I do. I'm nuts. Like, if it's a cell phone contract, I read that. Buying a new car, they're like, you're really reading it? Absolutely, because this is a liability on me now. So I need to know what I'm getting into. I need to know if there's any shady clauses, or what's going to work in my benefit, right? So you have to look into that stuff, because a lot of accounts, and I saw when I work collections, when you start, you kind of start at the bottom of the barrel. They give you what's called like old paper. So they might give you like credit cards that got closed 4 years ago that no one's paying on. And a lot of Canadians think, oh, 2 years, statute of limitation. Yes. Province of Ontario statute of limitation is 2 years. Your financial institution cannot sue you. However, they can put you in collections and report it to your credit report for 7 years. So think about it. That credit card you got in university that you ran up to 5K, 5 years ago, and you're now 27, 28 and getting married, and you don't want to bring that debt into your marriage. You've now got to pay 10K because you ignored it after university or college. A lot of people don't take that in, right?
I'm aware about the 7 years. That it can affect your credit for 7 years, right?
Correct.
But I didn't know about the statute of limitations for Ontario of 2 years. So how does that work?
It's different depending on provinces. So you have 2 years to the date of activity to pursue legal action to kind of secure the bag, I guess is the good way of putting it. In some provinces, I mean, I've been out of collections for a while, but I know like in the East Coast, I think it's like a year. It depends on the province you live in. Every province have their own statute of limitation, but I'm knowledgeable of Ontario. So they can pursue you legally for that. And a lot of people think, oh, they can't sue me, whatever. Don't be so secure in that, because it can go on 7 years. So think about it. If you're 23, right, and you're 30 now, and you're getting married, and a lot of people don't want to bring finances into you don't want to bring debt into a marriage and starting a new beginning. You've ignored that debt for 6 years, and now that 5K is 10,000. You know what I mean? Because they keep adding the interest rate. So and then there's over limit fees. There's a whole bunch of things. As I said before, read your contracts, right? So routing back to where your original question about, ask me about everything, like credit counseling, how it works, like there's the good, the bad, talking to your bank, first of all, I said, right? So definitely you want to explore that avenue. And as I was saying, if you're so far gone where the bank is like, no, we're not helping you because you're behind, whatever, then I would say credit counseling is excellent for you. And so like credit counseling, there's good to it, right? Like for instance, you will repay your debt in full, right? And some of the interest rates, depends. Interest rates vary by creditors, but if they do, when you're on credit counseling, some will still charge you interest. A lot will charge you 0%, but some will charge you like a nominal 5%, right? which is still great because the average credit card for someone with good credit ranges, I'd say anywhere from 11 to 19%. So, 5%, that's still nominal. And
Yeah.
credit counseling, they typically put you on a repayment plan for 3 to 5 years, right?
3 to 5?
Where you, yes, anywhere from 3 to 5, depending on your debt load. That's the time period they'll put you on. So that's giving you time. It's realistic. It's not like a demand debt in that point. Credit counseling, they are going to definitely close your cards though. A lot of the creditors,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to close your cards. You're not going to have access. So here's the thing. A lot of people, well, I don't know. I don't know if a lot of people know this, but when you have a credit card and it's closed,
Yeah.
your score is definitely going to take a hit, right?
Absolutely.
But
Yes.
at the same time, these repayment plans are realistic. So
Mm-hmm.
like we would go over your whole financials with you, see what your assets are, see what your liabilities are, look into
Mm-hmm.
your credit report, and we would work with you based off of that. So these payment plans would be realistic. And for a lot of people who are serious about repaying your debt, which I feel if you're to the point of credit counseling, you should be serious
Mm-hmm.
about paying back your debts. Most
Yes.
people can kind of afford to pay more because, when we're putting you on these budgets, we're factoring in a rainy day. We're not leaving you high and dry. Like, okay, you paid all your bills and you have $900 left. You should be paying $900. No, these are realistic 3 to 5 year terms.
Mm-hmm.
Most there is one creditor. I don't want to say too much, but out of all the creditors, there's one, because I don't, there's one creditor that will allow you up to 7 years to pay back. There's one creditor that will allow you on credit counseling for up to 7 years. Yes. And that
So
is
wait.
for extreme hardships. Go
So
ahead.
wait. So when you say, okay, so I like the 3 to 5 years time
hmm
period, but it does include interest.
Some it's a
Some?
nominal
Okay.
5%, but majority will
Okay.
give you 0% payback.
Okay.
And
That's good. But
and I'm
this.
talking like big five and credit unions, just so you know, like the big five
Okay.
and credit unions. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And then with the 7 years, don't. For your personal opinion, which one do you think is ideal? Like
To pay
how,
back your
like
debts,
the, yeah.
I would say 3 to 5 years is
Okay.
ideal. I mean, it was
Okay.
very rare circumstances. I mean, there were a few circumstances where you would have to go to 7 years, but
Mhm.
not very many people needed that amount of time based on their financial situations.
Okay. And oh, what was the highest amount you seen someone have to pay back?
156,000, and that
156,000?
and that did not include a mortgage. And what was shocking for me is like then it's not shocking now because I truly believe the more you make, the more you spend. But these two people combined, it was husband and wife, and
Hmm.
they made well in the six figures where I felt that they could have managed it. But that was me, looking in it new. I was like, oh my God, like, how do you make all that and have that much debt? But it's so easy. Like, the more you make, the more you spend. You know what I mean? So,
Mm-hmm. 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 The more you make, the more you spend. Golly. And
mhm,
do you find, because there is um a life, what is it? I just said it to someone today. Lifestyle creep.
mhm,
The lifestyle creep is crazy for certain things because you want to have that status, especially if you're six figures. You want to keep up a status that you probably can't manage yet.
mhm.
So I'm glad that those folks realized that they had a situation that they had to take care of. And did it take them 3 to 5 years
Yeah.
to, or did they, actually, my one question is, even though you have the 3 to 5 time span, are you able to pay it off quicker with no
Yes.
penalty?
You you are able to pay it off quicker with a penalty, which is I was going to
With a
mention that later on.
penalty.
That
Yeah.
with no penalty. So, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So I mean, so that's the better thing that I like, because like if you know about like. I mean, I'm gonna talk more about bankruptcy today and give you insight to that. But like, I'm gonna
Mhm.
say like if you were to do a consumer proposal,
Yes. Okay.
if
Okay.
you
Yes.
if you
Yes.
file a consumer proposal and you come into money within 2 years of that consumer proposal, be it
Hmm.
like you win the lottery or inheritance,
Really?
you're required to put pay back the full debt load if you acquire money within the first 2 years of filing that. Yeah. So, I mean, so that's the kind of advantage. Like there's almost like a penalty if you come into cash, but no, like you could, like I had some people called me and they were thrilled. They're like, my aunt died like yesterday. And I'm like, you would think, oh my God, that's so insensitive. But at the same time, I got these people's stress of wanting to be debt free and just take care of it. So I'll be like, yeah, my aunt died yesterday and I'm paying this back today. Like, and I'm like, good for you. Like, I'm very sorry, but good for you for taking that financial responsibility and taking care
Yes.
of it. You know what I mean? So to say, like, with that, as I said, you have lower interest rates or 0% for most to pay back. That's a benefit.
That's
You avoid bankruptcy, which can really put a big like bruise on your credit score. And also you stop the collection calls, and a lot of people are stressed out because like collection agencies, they're only allowed to call you 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
But they will call more. But because the average person doesn't know this, the average person doesn't contact consumer affairs. And also your place of employment. A collection agency is able to call your place of employment once. They're allowed to call to verify employment for the purposes of garnishee in you. But some collection agency will continuously call you at work. A lot of people can't get calls at work, depending on where
Mm-hmm.
they work, especially if you work in like a call center or a store or something. Like, no, he or she is busy. They're on cash. They will call. You can literally tell them verbally, do not call my work. You can send a
Yeah.
letter in writing. Nowadays, technology, you can send an email saying, please do not contact me at my place of employment. And they're not allowed to. You can file a complaint with Consumer Affairs if they call you more. Like Consumer Affairs, I recommend everyone to read that website. Just know your rights. Just even with like signing a contract for a car or going for a gym, there's so much insightful information on there.
Okay.
You know what I
I'll
mean?
definitely I'll definitely
Mhm.
put that in the show notes. Um Affairs, boom, got it. Found it. Boom.
Consumer Affairs, yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's a good
Wow.
read for an everyday average person. Definitely, you want to
Hmm.
just know your rights, and a lot of people don't, right? So you want to
Absolutely.
definitely check that out.
Because I didn't even know that. I didn't know they can call at least once or 3 times a week for that.
Mhm.
Wow. Okay, um so we know the good things about credit counseling. We kind of know.
Mhm.
I don't think we've even talked about like the bad or ugly, but I the reason for this is just to educate folks about like everything. And so far you've told me so many things that I haven't even realized, and I'm hoping everyone loves this because this is like
So
these are the things you need to know, right? Especially and
mhm.
then not only is the things you need to know, it's I want to encourage folks not to get into the situation. But at
Yeah, like
least
yeah.
if they yeah, because like at least they know that there's consumer proposals, which I knew about. And but we'll discuss that after because I think there's
Mhm.
different was it terminologies for these
Mhm.
things that folks don't
Mhm.
understand. So
Mhm.
we talked about the good things about debt counseling.
Consolidation, credit
What
counseling,
about
yeah.
yeah, what about the bad?
So, well, we did kind of touch on a bad, like I made
Yeah.
mention of the credit cards being closed,
Yes,
right? When
close.
you're
Yes,
on credit
yes,
counseling.
yes.
So, as I said, that's definitely going to hit, that's going
Mhm.
to cause a bruise to your score, right? Another thing with credit counseling. So, credit counseling is classified as a payment arrangement that's between you and the creditor. So, that
Mhm.
is on your credit report as an R7. A lot of people don't know that, right? That's what an R7 is. Um, a lot of people just know, your R1 is you're good, you're in good standing, R2, you're a payment behind, R3, whatever. And then it's like an R9 bad debt write off where you haven't made payments for a substantial amount of time or you haven't made payments at all, right? So
Yeah.
when you file credit counseling, some creditors do put you at an R7, right? And that
Mm.
also, it's not an R1, it's not an R2. Your credit is going to take a blemish there as well,
And the
right?
R7 means what again? Sorry?
That an R7 represents a payment arrangement, some sort of special
Okay.
arrangement in place between you, the customer, and the creditor. That's what that represents. So that will take a hit to your credit report. And a lot of people will be like, oh, well, what's the point of me doing this? Why don't I just file bankruptcy? You have to keep in mind with bankruptcy and a consumer proposal, it all depends on your assets and liabilities. Do you own a home? Some people, it's not an option for you, right? And then the good and bad thing with another like bad thing per se, you can look at it in either perspective, but like in credit counseling, if you go on with certain creditors, they're what we would call an all or nothing creditor. So you got to if you're shutting me down and put me on this program, you got to put every credit card, every line of credit, basically every sort of lending loan thing on your credit report, aside from your mortgage, you have to close and put on this program. So they like all or nothing creditors. So that's a downside for a lot of people, because most of us, we need a credit card for some sort of emergency. You don't know when someone is going to get sick and need a lifelong, life-saving surgery. OHIP does not cover everything. You don't know when you're going to be driving across country and your car breaks down like 12 hours from home. You know what I mean? Things can happen, right? You don't know when you're going to have a sick relative in another country. You don't know, right? Life happens. Like you want to rent a car, you need a credit card. So a lot of people look at that as negative, but at the same time, if I feel like that's a positive in the sense that if you're trying to be serious about getting your finance together, why keep that one card, right?
True. And
so that's it.
Golly.
And yeah, and then a negative and a positive about credit counseling. There's no limit to the amount of times. Well, later on in the podcast, you'll understand why that's a negative and a positive. But with credit counseling, you can do credit counseling as much times as possible. There's no limit to that, and it can be sad sometimes because you get excited. Like as a supervisor, I had my time, of course, where I would talk to clients. Like I did a little bit of customer service, right? But at the end when I would talk to clients when they're happy and thrilled and they want to talk about the program, I'm like, yay, you're debt free. Like, oh my gosh. And then, it'd be disappointing because some of these people will call 3 months later and I'm just like, did you not learn anything from the last 3 to 5 years?
And you know what? Someone asked me that before, like, Camille, when should I actually consider debt consolidation or bankruptcy? Actually, not even bankruptcy, because we're not going to talk about that yet. When should I consider debt consolidation? I was like, when you know that you're going to have the discipline not to go back. But that's crazy. I didn't even know that you could do it numerous times, because it's like someone needs that hand holding. Once again, I've talked about it many times. People need someone to hold their hand, like, I know I've done this before, but can we do it again? So that's crazy, but maybe it is a good and bad thing. I'm just hoping that folks don't do it so often, because by the
most I've seen is 3 times, and I was
3
just like,
times?
but
Okay.
that was a few. Most people do definitely learn. You know what I mean? So
okay, 3 times, and 3 times in a span of 5 years.
I'd say probably 10. I would say probably 10 years. They're return offenders. No, I'm joking. No,
no, call them that. Call them.
no. And I mean,
Dang.
yeah,
Okay.
but we want to help and not judge, right? Like that's it, right?
Of course. I'm glad after the 3rd time they had a realization of what's happening, and at least they did have a plan, because now the 3rd time comes and they're like, okay, you know what, this financial plan, or knowing my assets and liabilities, is not a bad thing and stuff, right? So that's I did not know that it's endless and all that good stuff. So okay, so we've talked about consumer proposal. Is that the first step before anything with debt consolidation and stuff, or how does it work?
So no, the first, as I said, with debt consolidation, the first step is going to your creditors, right? And seeing if your creditors can work something out with you. If your creditors can't work something with you, or you're going up for renewal or something, and Well, no, let me not talk about that yet. Like, let's say your creditors can't work with you, then it would be credit counseling. Let's try that, because most people, if you're going to your creditors, you don't want that extreme hit like a bankruptcy or consumer proposal, right? Because
Mhm.
that's on your credit report. Now, at credit
Yeah.
counseling, it does there's a possibility where it will say like, credit counseling, like it'll say R7 credit counseling agreement, or
Mm,
something like, payment plan with creditor. It'll say something like that, but it's not public information.
yeah.
Where bankruptcy or a consumer proposal is public information, right? Now, a,
Mm,
a consumer proposal or like a bankruptcy, that's just kind of dependent on you and what you're trying to do financially. You know what I mean? Like, a consumer proposal, you're paying back a portion. With
mhm.
bankruptcy, you're paying back a fee. You're not paying back anything at all, really. Like, you're just paying a fee. With consumer proposal, you're putting on a payment plan. Short of it, because I'm not a trustee, so I don't want to get into too much details about that. So I'll just say you have a trustee, and they will send they'll send settlement offers to your creditors. Your creditors have a certain amount of time to respond to the settlement offers.
Okay.
It'll usually be a couple cents on every dollar, and then basically the payments you make monthly for 5 years is paying back that settlement amount, and it sits on your credit report just like a bankruptcy. As a registered, it's a public item. People can see it, right?
Yeah.
It's just,
Oh,
all these things you do, judgments. If you owe somebody money and you don't pay it, a judgment sits on your credit report for like 10 years. People think a lot of things. They're like, whatever, I don't care. You know what I mean?
mm.
You don't pay child support, it's on your credit report. It'll literally show family responsibility and show that you're 100 something thousand. Like, so, do what you gotta do. Cause I've definitely seen it. I've seen some, I'm like, what? When I let my, I'm like, wow, like, take care of your kids. But that's another podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, just so I can so I'm understanding this.
Mhm.
Consumer proposal and debt consolidation are two separate things or together?
There are two separate things.
Oh, okay.
Consumer proposal would
Yeah.
file under that bankruptcy umbrella.
Okay. 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 Got it. So folks, whatever.
They're cousins. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So we don't want to mess with these cousins.
Exactly.
And the judgment. I didn't even know about the judgment. Cause okay, so with the now I'm just thinking of something else. So things that could be on your credit score or for the public is child support. What about spousal?
Mhm. No, not
No.
spousal support.
Okay. Just making sure. Child support, OSAP or student loans is there.
Cell cell phones can be on, like, a lot of people don't realize that cell phones report monthly. Yes, they sure do. Yeah. Hmm.
Folks, whoever has Fido, Rogers, Telus, Freedom, Win, Public,
Hmm. Hmm.
whichever.
It's on there. Hmm.
Utilities or no?
Not unless you're past due.
Okay, okay. And sometimes
Mhm.
I heard about rent.
Basically, if you're past due and something goes to collections,
Yeah.
it can be put on there. If there any company that's willing to pay Equifax, TransUnion can put
Mhm.
something on there, as long as they've got their proof to show that you owe them money.
Mm.
It can definitely be on there, right?
Okay. So that's folks, be mindful. Pay your things upon time, please.
Hmm. And and keep in mind with debts too. A lot of people, we didn't kind of touch on this, I forgot, but like secure debts.
Secure
If
debts.
you have secure debts, they will take that security. So be mindful, be very mindful.
Yes.
Unless there's a rare situation, like if you put a car, if you, let's say you get a line of credit with your bank and you put a car up as collateral, you got a new car, it's worth like 40,000. If it's been 7-8 years, cars usually lose their value. So
Yep.
sometimes your credit, they will change that to unsecured because the security is no longer of value, but it's a rare occurrence. So pay your debts. Yeah, no, for real. No,
Facts.
for real.
Dang. Okay. So sorry, I lost my train of thought. So this first step is go to your creditors or financial institution, credit counseling. The cousins are, or so then there's debt
Bankruptcy and
consolidation.
consumer. Mhm.
Okay.
Debt consolidation is one on its own, and then consumer proposal and bankruptcy. So basically, like consumer proposal, it'll affect it'll affect your credit negatively,
Hmm.
of course, right? But
Yeah.
um, you'll get out of the unsecured debts that you owe in 60 payments or less. You and your trustee will send proposals, which are like written offers to get you that lower rate, and you kind of settle on it, right? So, I mean, it's good in the sense that it'll stop legal action,
Hmm.
right? And it'll stop like collection calls, obviously, right? So, and if you're being, and even if you're like, if you're being garnished and you do a consumer proposal, that'll stop the garnishment,
Okay.
as well as a bankruptcy will obviously stop those things as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So these are the things that happen when it comes to consumer proposals.
Mm.
6 garnishing. Golly, I've only seen that once. Like with a client, I'm like, oh, it went that bad, which
Yeah.
is which I think. Oh, did it do with CRA? I seen it with CRA actually, and I was like, that is wild. But
Well,
hey,
that's, you know what, too, a lot of people with CRA,
mhm.
I would, I mean, you have to respect people and listen to them when they call, but I wouldn't feel sorry for CRA because like debts, because you have to owe CRA for a really long time before they garnish your wages. I mean,
True. True. And we spoke about that last week. So like it's crazy that it's, coming back in full circle and all
mhm.
that good stuff. But golly. So garnishing proposal, dealing with trustees to talk to your creditors and having 60 payments. And then the last resort I like to call. Cuz at the same like before we discuss it, what is the percentage of bankruptcy have you seen?
Like, what do you mean?
Like with folks, like or
Like, do you
you've
mean like
never
how I can tell how much would go in that route?
yeah.
I mean, just to throw a quick number percentage, well, I'd probably say about 30%.
Okay. Understood. Understood.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And I guess but bankruptcy is literally like last resort.
Yeah, I mean, it affects your credit big time. It's not something you just want to play about and do numerous times and, use it as your safe, your saving grace, right? If
Mhm.
you've gotten yourself in a financial hole and you've explored the credit counseling and that's not an option, it doesn't work, or your creditors are not complying for whatever reason, or, you know, you've got secured debts, things like that, then yes, that in that context, a bankruptcy would be the last resort.
I didn't even spell it right to the point. That's how much it scares me.
It's all good. You can edit
Right? That's how crazy it like and what how many times can you go bankrupt?
So, surprise, surprise, there is no limit to the amount of times you can file a bankruptcy. However, there are rules to bankruptcy. So, after you file for bankruptcy the third time, you'll need to appear in court before a judge and you'll have to explain the circumstances. And it is
Wait,
then
wait, wait. We got to go one stage at a time. We got to go one stage at a time. So the first time you go bankrupt, what happens?
Mhm. So the first time you go bankrupt, it sits on your credit report for 7 years.
Okay.
Right? Post discharge, like that's after your discharge, right? Because it takes 7 years to be discharged from your bankruptcy. So,
Yes.
and then the second time it's 14 years post discharge, right?
Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
The third time it's 21 years. And that's why a lot of people opt out of it and go to consumer proposal because of that.
Wait. Time out, time out. Wait, folks. I'm trying to write it, but every time
Sorry,
I
I'm
hear
sorry.
it, I'm like, oh, what? Okay, okay. Why can't I even spell right now? Boom. First time, 7.
Mm-hmm.
Second time,
14.
14. Blood fire. Um,
Oh,
and then third.
21. Can you do something for me? No, that's why most people go to consumer proposal.
Folks, what the hell? Like, oh my god.
Yeah.
7 years first time, second time 14 years, third time 21 years. Guys, let's be honest. But you okay, now the question is, how many folks have you known that are third time offenders? We'll say it like that.
I can say in my career, haven't seen it.
Praise Jah. Praise Jah, because that would be crazy. But you've seen second time.
Yes.
Okay. And but if okay, so rewind, because the fact that you had to go to court to explain it is crazy. And then how many times is that for you to go to the court?
It's 21.
So that's crazy. Have you heard stories?
No, I haven't. I just know
Okay.
it's something that can happen, but I haven't. No, thank God.
Okay. Thank heavens. Like that is wild. Like and again folks, I don't want to encourage anyone to do this, right? Cuz it's not like it's a walk in the park to be able to, oh, well, I'll just do bankruptcy again. Like I don't want anyone to see what's happening, like with inflation going up and everything, and thinking I'll just go bankrupt again. Like I don't care. Like it's not a big deal, but it is. Um I guess now the next question is, what is the age group that you see folks go bankrupt?
I can't say there is an age group. I mean, I've seen people do it as young as 14
Shut
and
stop.
14, sorry, not 14. What am I saying? 14, not 14. I'm like, why am I, you know what? My phone, it's dying and it said 14%.
Oh no.
No, no, no. I've seen people, I would say, as young as 21, and then I've seen a lot of older people, like mid 50s, because they're like, "Hey, I'm gonna retire in like the next 10 years. I can't
Mm,
carry this with me. It's better for me to kind of do it now and be financially responsible."
yeah.
Yeah.
Golly. Okay. Dang.
Hmm.
That's that hurts when I hear like 50-year-olds like saying like, I'm about to retire soon. Like I wanna revamp and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's also because, like, when you're getting into like the second or even the third more so, there's a couple of reasons, right? Divorce, you got sick, like medical reasons, you've lost your job, those are the most common. I mean, like, if you, like, let's say, God forbid you have an accident and you can't work, right? Like, ODSP is going to give you how much, right? So some
Mm,
people can't financially support themselves and they're like, okay, I was making 100K and now here I am getting $1,200 a month on ODSP. That might be
yeah.
your only resolution, right? So when you're stuck in a rock and a hard place, what do you do, right? Yeah.
You know what? I'm glad you gave me reasons because it's not always gonna be the reason of like someone was just doing, oh, YOLO, I'm just gonna like, there are serious things that happen in life, like divorce, accidents, death, whatnot, that will
Mhm.
put them in a bad rut. And shucks, shucks, you must have learned a lot.
No, it was super insightful, and I love being able to play both sides, like from going to collections where most people just viewed it all negatively. I was happy because, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, everybody doesn't see credit counseling as a great thing, but I think it's definitely a great solution if you don't want your credit to take that super hard hit with a bankruptcy or a consumer proposal. Would I tell my family members to go on it? Absolutely. But you know what I mean? There's the good and there's the bad in it, right? Just like
Yeah.
I think everything in day-to-day life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and remember the consumer proposal, you're not looking at that 21-year discharge, right? And then like finances, right? Like financial education, it helps. So I hope this podcast helps someone who's in a rut or who's unsure. Like if you can pay for it, do that. Don't, because it's just
True.
gonna get harder. Don't let your debt sit. You gotta have a plan.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that. So is there I know there's interest, or there's either zero interest, low interest, or a fee. What's the fee that you were mentioning earlier?
Like the fee for credit counseling or bankruptcy, that all
Yeah.
depends. That all
Oh,
depends. There's a lot of different criteria, so I can't just say
okay.
like specific. It depends on the person, right?
Okay. Fair
It's not
enough.
everyone. I know there's some like government assisted,
Mm-hmm.
off the top of my head, but it is a nominal fee for that. But
Okay.
yeah. So like
That's a good reason to.
so
So,
there's a fee, and then it's usually less than the interest that you'd pay on like your unsecured debt. Like that's what, just to kind of give you a little bit of an insight.
and I guess also is, at what point do you think someone should get it? Like the credit counseling. I like I'm not gonna say like an amount, because like someone can have like $1,000 in debt and they're like, ah, I'm gonna go get it. Like,
If you're struggling, and like I mean, in my opinion to that is like if you're living paycheck to paycheck, if you
mm,
get if you were to get sick tomorrow and have to take 6 months off of work, would your
mhm,
debts be able to be taken care of still? That's kind of a red flag. If you can't afford to take a day off because you can't pay your debts, that's where you should be calling your creditors and trying to set something up. You know what I mean?
mm,
Right off the bat. But then of course there's the obvious, is like we touched on it earlier, right? Like
yeah,
collection calls. If you're getting collection calls, that's, an indication, hey, I need help. I'm already far gone, right? Like we talked about that, like calling the creditors and working out an arrangement if you're too far gone. If you're in payday loans, we know the interest rates are ridiculous. I think they've like lowered them recently to 58% or something. I saw something like that on the news. Um,
oh,
and most people, oh, if I take $300, the first $300 is 20 and all that, but they suck you in. That's how they make money. They want to give you a second 300, and they want to give you a third and a fourth. So those are all like red flags, like where you should get help. My thing is, of course, ideally, if you're living the paycheck to paycheck and you're living to pay your debts, then that's where you need to take the first step of calling your creditors to see what can be done internally. And if that's not working, then absolutely you need to look into credit counseling to see, like, because it's a great alternative. You know what I mean? And
I
if
like
you're
that
serious
saying.
about paying your debts, and if you're working and you're living paycheck to paycheck, as I said earlier, credit counseling allows you to put yourself on a realistic payment plan. So it gives you that leverage where you can save, you
Yeah,
can still save, right? Like
yeah,
point blank, period. If you're stressed out financially, if you're not sleeping at night and you're thinking about it, then talk to a credit counseling agency. It's not going to cost you anything. And you're talking to these people, they'll give, most all agencies in the game will give
yeah,
you a free consultation, and you can
yeah.
make the decision. It's not like you're going in and having to sign.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
be
okay.
mindful of that, right?
Yeah. And also, since you've learned so much about this, being in the collections and the credit counseling aspect, what are the three things you wish you knew
Um,
about personal finance back in the day, before you even learned about all this lovely stuff?
what I wished I knew back in the day, save, save, save. Like, I wish that I had saved, because like you know, when you're young, you want to have the cute outfit, you want to have the late. I was a tomboy. You want to have the latest kicks. You want to go to the parties and all that, and buy stuff and be out and about. You're young. You want to be all cute. No, you want to save, 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 save a percentage of all your paychecks. You know what I mean? Like even if it's 10%, deposit it into a GIC and watch it build. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like if I had done that when I was like a little 16-year-old girl starting out in Walmart, you know what I mean? I would be so far ahead today, right? Like, but you know, we all live and learn, right?
Wait,
So
they didn't give you stock options when you were at Walmart?
I did get stock options, yeah, and I signed, but I was, you know, at 16 though too. Even though I was like, well, why? And, you know, it was kind of like my parents were like, you sign into those stocks, and I did it. You don't know, right? But my parents were like, it's a good thing. I'm like, okay, they're taking X amount, and I know, you know, when I quit, I got a nice check. Like I could have stayed in or opted out. And I was like, okay, thanks, mom and dad. You know what I mean? But in that moment, I didn't
Yeah.
understand it, you know?
True, 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 true,
Mhm.
true. Okay, so save. Did you say 3 or did you say save, save, save?
So listen, those, yes, that's it. Save, save, save. No, you want to save, right? You know,
Yeah.
lock in investments like a GIC,
Mhm.
an RRSP. You can do that, you know, and just know like interest in how it's calculated. I hate math with a passion, but you got to know basic math. Like you got
Yeah.
to know math. Like you know how some of us aren't good at math, but when they mess up our paycheck, we're all in that bed math getting it right.
Mm.
You got to know your math,
Walan.
right? And just like and just the importance of saving. Save for a rainy day because you never know when something is going to happen unexpectedly. You know what I mean? Like at the brink of COVID, I had a car accident where I almost died. You know what I mean? I was out of work for 6 months. And I loved while I was rehabilitating myself that I didn't have to stress, oh my God, is this going to be paid? Who's going to take it? Like, you know, I was lucky. My biggest stress was who's going to take care of my dog? I can't move, you know, and that's something good, like to have. I mean,
Oh.
you know, you don't want any stress, but
Yeah.
like you just want to, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I was going to get food and, you know,
Mhm.
literally, I had just left 5 minutes. I was talking to my mom and I was like, oh, you're not coming with me, like joking around. I'm like, oh, you suck. And 5 minutes later, I was in the ICU for a month. So, please save for a rainy day, even if you don't need any of these resources or options, be it a credit counseling,
Mhm.
consumer proposal, you know,
Mhm.
bankruptcy. You don't want to be in collections. Ideally, you don't want any of it if you don't have to, but save before it gets to that because literally your life can change at the blink of an eye. It is imperative that you have something to fall back on. And not everybody has a spouse or a mom and dad that will help them. We're grown folks. You know, you're 18 when you're having credit, unless it's co-signed, and it may be younger. But for the most
Yeah.
people, you know, you're 18 above, we're adults. And, you know, mommy and daddy ain't going to help most of us. A brother, a sister, a cousin, aunt, and uncle. It doesn't work like that. And ideally, you can't depend on inheritance and things like that. Those are not realistic goals. So save. That's all I can say to you guys. Save, save, save.
Thank you for mentioning that. Like that's a big thing. And I know I heard how many percentage of the phone is. So nowhere is there what are you doing now or what avenues are you pursuing now at the moment?
Well, I have been out of the credit world for a little while. Right now, I'm in the legal services field. Like that's what I went to school with. That is my passion. I
Mhm.
absolutely love it, but I'm still in the game in the sense like giving my coworkers that financial literacy and knowledge. If they ask me, you know,
Yeah.
if you know someone comes to me one on one and they say, hey, like should I go to this agency, should I go to that agency,
Mhm.
absolutely, I would recommend. I mean, even if any of your viewers want to know an agency they should go to, I'll most definitely tell you. I'm
Okay.
just not comfortable with doing it on camera because I haven't gotten clearance from any of these companies, so I don't want to just put their names out there. Most
Understood.
definitely one on one, if someone reaches out to you, you can get to, you know, you have my contacts and I can
Yeah.
definitely tell them where to go and try
Okay.
to lead them on the right path.
So is it okay
Hmm.
if I give them your I'm gonna say not phone number because that's a little bit too personal, you know. But are people able to contact you by email if they want to get to
Absolutely.
know?
I'm okay with that. Yeah, you can make my
Yeah,
email. If someone, you know what I mean? If they want to
yeah.
set up a like via email, maybe a call or something, because I would love
Mhm.
to tell them. I will
Yes.
100% help where I can. Okay.
Okay, boom, bam, bam. There you have it, folks. So I'm gonna put it in the show notes for Onicka to able to, if you guys want to, ladies and gentlemen, want to reach out to Onicka to get more insight. Thank you so much. Like, this is tell you guys, I knew from when we were talking about it like a couple months ago that this was going to be an epic episode, because like this things folks don't know, and it's really important. I definitely believe people should save for a rainy day, be your own safety net, because you never know what's going to happen and all that good stuff. Is there anything you would like to tell the folks before we wrap it up?
Save, save, save. Get your financial literacy up and just save. And thank you so much for having me. And, anyone, reach out to me via email if you have any questions. If you may want to set up, maybe we can have a one-on-one conversation. I will definitely give you knowledge. Okay?
Awesome. On that, folks, make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And charge your phone.
I don't know what's going on. It won't charge. I'm at 6, but maybe because I'm on it. I don't know, but we made it, right?
We made it. On that note, folks, blessings. Enjoy your weekend, y'all.
Financial literacy, knowledge is a must. So link the flip boss, watch the result flash, and watch your life change. And for your better cause, you have a business or a plan and want to make it. Yeah, flip and floss, so they want to manifest it. Yeah, and if you want to better manage all your credit, call the boss. Flip and floss, no doubt, then we do it. Yeah, flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, greatness in our blood because we're working for your cause. Flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, boots up your knowledge for your minimal cost. Hey, yeah, flip and floss, money literacy boss. Greatness in our blood because we're working for your cause. Flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, up your knowledge for your minimal cost.